Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. Certainly a happier Monday, I hope, for all of you than it is for David Griffin and Coach Bud. What is going on around the NBA? But Keith, we got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about here. We've got obviously some changes happening around front offices and coaching spots around the NBA. We'll get into that. We'll also get into the playoffs a little bit. We'll talk about some of the play-in games. Playoffs now set when we look at the standings and how the bracket is all broken down, with the exception of the play-in tournament, of course. So we'll get into all that on today's show, Keith. It's an exciting time of year. Feel bad, though. We got to kick things off with some people losing their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, that's typical, though, right? No matter whether it's basketball or football or baseball, I assume hockey works the same way. It's pretty much they move on pretty quick when the season wraps up. Or as we saw, maybe sometimes you don't even wait for the season to end over the last couple of weeks. But we've got we'll might as well start it off with this one. Pelicans fired David Griffin. So David Griffin had 6 years there, I believe, in New Orleans, 2 playoff appearances, only 2 winning seasons. Could argue, the Zion pick was the pick every single person on the planet would have made, and he has never been healthy. I think I looked it up the other day. He's only had 2 seasons in his career where he's played 60 or more games. So you're just in a spot where, once that kind of went sideways, it was going to be really tough. But there were other questionable moves, CJ McCollum acquisition and then extension. I thought they did well in the Anthony Davis trade, but there's not a lot left. Now I don't think anything's left from that trade with them. So just a tough spot to be in if you're the Pelicans. So.
And the DeJounte Murray, the Dyson Daniels thing didn't help, that Dyson Daniels has looked
100%.
Probably more valuable. I mean, obviously with the injury, but even without the injury, maybe more valuable than DeJounte Murray now. The draft capital that got added in there as well. Now, Keith, let me ask you, and there's Zion Williamson's games played up on the screen right now by season. How much of this was David Griffin and how much of this was bad injury luck? Because when you look he got Herb Jones in the draft. You got Trey Murphy. He's made some good decisions here. They're not all perfect, but they're never all going to be perfect decisions. So how much of this do you think is just bad luck for David Griffin?
A lot of it. I mean, a lot of it is got the right guys and they just haven't stayed healthy. Now you can argue, well, that's part of the profile, but some of these guys had no history of this. Herb Jones had no history of injury like this. I don't think Trey Murphy did. Zion, he had the thing with his knee and his foot at Duke, but and blew out the shoe and all that stuff. And there were a lot of people who were from moment one were like, well, he's too fat. Of course he's going to get hurt. And that's just, we've seen other fat guys play just fine for years and years without injuries. So I mean, that's a big chunk of it is the injury, bad luck there. And then I think it's that combined with some of the other decisions didn't really go their way. And then they are in a spot where it is where now that led to a lot of losing and a lot of not good seasons. And this is a very important offseason. They need to nail this draft pick. They're going to have a high pick. It's the 4th pick in the draft pre-lottery right now. So you've got a couple free agent decisions to be made. There's some extension decisions. I wrote at length on this. If anybody wants to see on Spot Track, you can look. We're starting to run our offseason previews. Pelicans is up already. So I won't reiterate everything I wrote there. People can look at it. But really important offseason, but it's going to be, those decisions are going to be made by somebody else now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'll see what happens with Willie Green.
Yeah.
But he's already being connected to another job, a job that just became available because the Suns have decided to fire Mike Budenholzer after just 1 season. I mean, Keith, we knew change was coming in Phoenix. We know there's going to be a lot of Kevin Durant trade buzz. We know they're going to try to figure out something to do with Bradley Beal if they can do anything. And the answer may be that they can't. We'll see. But we knew changes were coming in Phoenix. What do you think about this? Giving Coach Bud 1 season in Phoenix, now you're paying not 1 but 2 head coaches that you gave, I believe, Frank Vogel got a 5-year deal as well. Now
probably like a 4-1. That's usually how the coach.
A team option.
Yeah, there's usually a team option at the end. But still, I mean, you're talking, 2 more years for Vogel, because it would have been the year he did coach this year, and then 2 more years. And now Bud on top of that. That's
So it's probably 3 more years for Bud if that team option's at the end of it again. So I mean, you're looking at for at least the next 2 years, you're paying two guys like significant money, millions upon millions of dollars to not coach your team. They had to be pretty convinced that, okay, we made a mistake. Coach Bud's not the guy in order to make this decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's pretty clear they're going to move on from Kevin Durant this offseason. I think they'd like to move on from Bradley Beal. Again, not to keep pumping my own work here, but I wrote extensively about Bradley Beal because a lot of people started talking about maybe they'll just waive and stretch Bradley Beal. Spoiler alert. If you don't want to go read the piece on Spot Track, they can't waive and stretch Bradley Beal. He makes too much money. You can't have more than 15% of your cap in stretched money on the books in any given season. And they already have $3+ million in stretched money for Nasir Little and EJ Liddell from this past year. And then Beal's stretch would take them over 15%. So they can't. Yeah, he could work a buyout. I don't know why he would ever give any money back, but we'll see with that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a major transition. We'll see if anybody can be convinced to move Devin Booker in the Phoenix leadership structure. There's got to be some noise, I think, around James Jones. We'll see. But it sounds like from all the reporting that's been done, Mark Steins dove pretty deep into this and a few others, that Matt Ishbia is the one who's really making the day-to-day decisions too in the front office. Not saying he's out there scouting and making the trade calls, and all owners have ultimate sign-off, but it sounds like he's heavily involved, more so than a regular owner. So maybe he's like, yeah, I can just have James Jones here, but I don't, I'm still going to be in charge. So it's, going to be major transition, but you're kind of, I know they have these dreams of let's nail these trades. Let's put the right guys. We're not going to rebuild. Let's reset. And history tells me that doesn't work. We very rarely see a team do the reset that works and keeps you in contention. So they're going to have to do some real work here in Phoenix. And like you said, you're paying a two coaches to not coach for you. Let's remember, you're going to have to pay the new coach who comes in now. And then for the Phoenix Suns, their total tax plus salary, $366 million this year. When you talk about their tax bill, their estimated tax bill via our team at Spot Track, $152 million on top of $214 million in salary. So you're talking almost $367 million. We'll round it a little bit there in total salary, plus two coaches that you're paying, plus then a third coach. That's just bonkers level stuff.
This is a lot that they're going to have to that they're going to be paying here in Phoenix. That's this is part of why I can't remember who it was, Keith, but there was a team owner who said if they could give, this is a couple weeks ago, this came out, a team owner said, if I could give any advice to a new owner, somebody coming in and purchasing a team, it would be don't do anything for a year, 18 months. He goes, nobody ever listens because everybody wants to come in and get their fingerprints on things and make their changes and all that. He's like, but it really does take time to figure out how the whole league works and all of that. And I'd have to imagine if Matt Ishbia could go back to when he first acquired control of the Suns, he probably would do things differently right now.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. And I think what happens is if you're buying an NBA team, some I get fully just buy teams because it's an investment vehicle and they don't really care. But the vast majority of guys are buying a team because they're a fan, right? And what do they do when you're a fan? Same thing we're doing, which is just, hey, is this let's make up fake trades and let's talk about what we would do different if we were running a team. Well, if you got a few $billion laying around, you can, and then of course you're going to want to be involved. But I'm with you. I've seen that too. I've seen versions of that quote. I think it was Mark Cuban who gave version of that quote where he said exactly that. Like, what I would have done differently is just wait. You don't need to do stuff. And we all remember when he bought the Mavs, it was like they made trades constantly and some massive trades that didn't exactly work out for them early on. And in that, until I think he kind of got, all right, this is kind of how the league works. And he got the right people to run things. So, but massive offseason coming for Phoenix, the Durant trade, you got to get it right. If your idea is let's move forward and try to be a good team and carry the same level of payroll. Well, you have to nail that trade and get that done. And then let's see what happens with Beal. But I know there's going to be a lot of people pushing. I've even seen some Suns fans that are saying versions of it stinks and I don't want to do this, but let's just pull the Band-Aid off and rebuild.
Yeah.
Move everybody. Let's get a whole bunch of picks. Let's get our picks back from the Rockets for either Booker or Durant. And if we have to ride out the Beal contract, fine, we ride it out. But we'll rebuild around a bunch of draft picks and kids and try to get going. But Matt Ishbia doesn't seem to be very interested in doing that.
Yeah, there's like when you look at the Suns, you look at the roster, like, yeah, there will be teams interested in Kevin Durant, but the value you're going to get in a trade is going to be somewhat muted because of Durant's ability to steer his destination, his ability to say, you know what? No, if you're trading those guys to get me, I don't want to go to that team. I want to play with those guys. So I just won't sign an extension if I'm going to go there. I'll leave in free agency the next year. He's got the ability, because of his pending free agency, to steer his destination to a degree. He's also, 36 years old right now, so that will also limit his value. Bradley Beal doesn't have positive value around the NBA. He's very difficult to move because of that no trade clause that would not go away if he's traded. And so not only are you paying him more money than he's worth on the court, he's a good player, but more money than he's worth. So you've got a contract that's underwater. And on top of that, he's got the no trade clause, which teams aren't going to want to deal with that. Devin Booker is the one where if the Suns are calling somebody up there and they're saying, hey, can we talk about Bradley Beal? The opposing team's going to say, can we talk about Devin Booker?
Yeah.
That's the most valuable thing they've got to potentially trade. So if they really want to significantly change it, that might be where we land. Now, I don't think they do it just yet. Maybe it takes another year until they get to that point. And who knows, maybe things look better in the next year. But that's going to be the challenge for them. The piece everybody wants is the one they're going to be least willing to give up, and that may make it difficult for them to truly reset things.
Without a doubt. And I think the other thing to keep an eye on with Phoenix, and we'll dive deeper into their offseason later down the line, but is Grayson Allen's pretty tradable. Like,
sure.
It's, shooting. Every team needs shooting off the bench. You can start. He can play kind of either guard position. Royce O'Neal's a guy teams might have some interest in. I think he's a little shaky on those last couple of seasons, but you could probably move him. And then you get into it's a slew of guys who are non-guaranteed or on basically minimum contracts, and they're like, or rookie scale guys, they're not going to move. So I think we're really in a spot where it comes down to, if you want to do something big and impactful towards delivering a whole bunch of great stuff, it has to be Devin Booker. And that's probably just not going to be a thing. I think we are more likely to be having this conversation a year from now, saying, should have traded Devin Booker last season. Now you have to trade Devin Booker, and here we are. So just kind of messy. We can move to another kind of messy situation,
sure,
but maybe clarity at the top.
Two guys who are keeping their jobs.
Yeah. Two guys who are staying around instead of all these guys who are getting fired. Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse. Now, it was funny. I think it was might have been Tim McMahon who noted, like, the guy who's doing the press conference said, I'm staying around. I'm not losing my job. So that is a little funny, but presumably Daryl Morey had like the go ahead from ownership to say that. And he was very clear. Nick Nurse isn't going anywhere either. We're not putting this rough season on him. And then he kind of then went into this season didn't go the way any of us thought it would. All these guys were injured. We didn't have most of our guys, but he said, we expect to have Embiid, George, and Maxey 100% next season. Now, he did not say at the start of next season, but he said next season. That's probably more of an Embiid thing. My question is, yeah, sure, you'll probably have them at 100%, but for how long?
Yeah.
Like, how long? Maxey, I'm not very worried about. And I think Maxey, we'll find out, probably could have played down the stretch if there was a reason to with that. But yeah, we'll see. And I'm glad you pulled up you got Tankathon up there. Philly pulled it off. They landed with the 5th overall pick. So right now they're in range of keeping their pick. It's top 6 protected. So that means 2 teams would have to jump and push them back in the 7th for them to lose that pick.
They are if they get some lottery here, let's see. Do they get a lottery luck here on our spin? Yeah, they stayed 5th. They, there's the chance. Obviously, they have just a 10.5% chance of moving up to get number 1 overall. that would go a long way towards turning around their fortunes. But there's a number of players in this draft that they could potentially land that would certainly help ease some of the pain. The big thing now for Philly, it's not just this summer, it's what happens with those ping pong balls, because there is a chance that they wind up losing that pick. So that's going to be the focus in Philly from here. And then it's going to be, can you get these guys healthy, and can you build out something that, I mean, I don't know if we want to, because they had championship aspirations this season.
Sure.
I don't know if we can say they're going to fulfill that promise this coming year, but can they get things back on track next season, particularly from a health perspective? Again, the lottery is going to be a big part of that. I mean, let's not forget Jared McCain was fantastic before he got hurt. Maybe there's, they get healthy, and this is a much, much different team, but they've just not been healthy all year. The question is, can you really bank on them being healthy next season either? That's the challenge when you're built around Paul George and especially Joel Embiid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing I would think too with Philly is, injuries or not, if you have anything like this happen again next year, everyone's getting fired.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like we talked about with David Griffin. Injuries are part of the deal, and sometimes it's just bad luck, but everyone's going to go. In that situation from Philadelphia. And then it'll be, let the new guys deal with Embiid and George and whatever other guys are still on the roster. Can you hit a reset on this real quick? Because I do want to point out something that happened yesterday.
There it is.
Washington had a crazy buzzer beater win, which put them in the second spot. And I've had some people say, well, it doesn't matter because the lottery odds are flattened. It does matter, because now if a team jumps them, instead of them in Utah, like having a tiebreaker have to be done, they just get moved down, and that's where it goes. So it does matter to that extent with that. So just wanted to call that one out. Everything else kind of stayed the same. Tiebreakers are coming. There are 4 ties that need to be broken. The only lottery ones are Phoenix and Portland, and then it's a later one. What is it? It's Dallas and Chicago. I'm at 12-13. How that works is the NBA does a series of coin flips to break those. One year they televised it and put it on NBA TV, or at least the reveal of it. I think they were like 7 people watched, and I probably had 2 screens on and was 2 of the 7. But it was like, we don't need to do this on TV. So that'll come out. Usually that does happen this week.
Just announce it.
And they'll just announce, draft tiebreakers were done. And all that does is it moves the team. And if it is like who gets an extra ping pong ball in the lottery or whatever, that gets decided that way too.
Sure.
So, and then for the second round, it's the inverse of whatever happens in the first round, but it does not change based on the lottery. So if Phoenix picks 9th, Portland picks 10th. In the second round, it would be Phoenix and Portland don't own their picks, but it would be Portland, then Phoenix, and whoever those picks go to. But if Portland jumped them in the lottery, it doesn't switch in the second round.
By the way, the Suns just issued a statement saying about Mike Budenholzer, saying competing at the highest level remains our goal, and we failed to meet our expectations this season. Our fans deserve better, and change is needed.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Okay. I wouldn't put it all on Coach Bud, and I'm not the biggest Mike Budenholzer fan in the world by any means, but I certainly will put it all on him, and it kind of
comes across that way when you issue the statement like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We fired this guy, and our fans deserve better. That could be a general statement about their plans for the offseason, and we need to be better than this, and all of that. But to specifically add that into the statement that you are releasing this coach, it makes it sound that way. Like it's all on him.
It really does. But I mean, hey, whatever, right? Like I think we all kind of knew where this was going.
Sure.
With that. So
all right, let's go here, and then we'll get into some of our play-in tournament matchup. So Jaylen Brown gets a pain-killing injection in his knee. Any concern there in Boston about his availability come playoff time?
Not necessarily his availability, but it's his ability, I guess, and his ability to play like Jaylen Brown. Anybody who's watched the Celtics over really about the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, he has not looked like himself. He doesn't have the same explosiveness. You can see he's very, I don't want to say tentative, but he's just not putting himself in the same positions. He kind of is a guy who plays not in a bad way, but kind of plays a little reckless with like, I'm going to drive hard. And if I get fouled, I get fouled. It is what it is. It's been a little weird. The team calls it a right knee impingement. Brown himself, I think, called it a bone bruise. There's just been a lot of different terminology. It's probably some level of that. This is not a torn ACL or anything like that as far as we know it. There's been some speculation that maybe there's something going on with his meniscus, but we have not heard that either. The big question was if it's the injury they're saying it is, he needs time off, but he needs like a month off. And just, you can't give him that at this time of year unless he's going to play. Now, he has not played. He did not really play in the last week of the season. They're going to have essentially a week off before they play on Sunday. So he won't play this week. I imagine he'll go through some probably light practice instead of the full practices with the team. And they're hopeful. Joe Mazzulla said 100% he expects him to be available come game 1 on Sunday versus either the Magic or the Hawks. And we'll see where it goes. But it's worth watching because this is he won the Finals MVP last year. He's obviously one of the Celtics' very best players and a team with title aspirations. And if he's not ready to go, they have some depth. Maybe you get by in the first round or two without him. But after that, it would be tough to play without him.
For sure. Speaking of that matchup, let's get into that. Let's get into the play-in tournament matchups here. The Magic and Hawks in the 7-8 play-in tournament game. Now that we've got the bracket is set, and we'll get into the playoff games themselves, the already set ones, a bit more tomorrow. But let's get into the play-in tournament here. So the Magic and the Hawks, what are you expecting in that 7-8 battle? Remember, the winner becomes the 7th seed. The loser goes on to play the winner of the 9-10 matchup to determine who is the 8th seed.
Yeah, this one's a little bit of like offense versus defense.
Yeah.
Although the Hawks not quite as good of an offense as they have been in years past. Some of that's injury related. Losing a guy like Jalen Johnson really hurt them. I think that's what it's going to come down to, though. If the Magic can defend and shut Atlanta off, they'll win. If it turns into the Magic are having to score a lot of points, then the Hawks are favored. So it's going to really be who can kind of get things played a little bit more in their terms. I favor Orlando just because I think the defense, I know their defense is going to be really good, where we don't know Atlanta's offense will be good. Like sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And we know Orlando's going to defend. So I'm going to give it to Orlando. They'll play through Paolo and Franz and do their thing. They're pretty well rested. They didn't play a lot of their guys because they had locked up the 7th seed earlier last week. So they're in a spot where they're coming in pretty good. So we'll see. It should be a fun game. I think it'll be a fairly close game. I don't know. That's going to give us the Clippers Warriors levels of yesterday.
That was insane.
Oh man, it was. I said on social media after what was really a very good NBA regular season, like that was just the perfect capper because that game was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. That was playoff quality basketball there, and the two teams going back and forth at each other, and it was and to go to OT, it was such an exciting game. I'm like,
all the stars showed up and did what they're supposed to do in big games. Like, it was just great. So, but back to this, I'm going to pick the Magic to beat the Hawks. Like, I think that's where it'll go. And then that puts the Magic in as the 2 seed against Boston. And then Atlanta goes in to play the winner of Bulls Heat in the 9-10 game in the East.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would also go the Magic. They are the 5-point favorite right now in that game. So I would go Orlando for the same reasons you mentioned, the defensive acumen of that Magic team. Yes, they can have their offensive struggles for sure, but I'm going to lean defense come playoff time.
That game's 7:30 on Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern. That is Tuesday night.
All right, let's jump over to the Warriors and the Grizzlies now the Warriors. That was part of why you saw the Clippers and the Warriors just duking it out there, because the loser was going to go into the play-in tournament. Neither team wanted to do that, obviously. The Warriors and the Grizz now play in the 7-8 matchup. It will be in the Bay Area. They're going to have home court because they're the current 7th seed. This is, I know a lot of people aren't giving the Grizzlies much of a shot right now. The Warriors are a 7-point favorite, and I do think that the Warriors will ultimately win this game. But Jimmy Butler's knee didn't look great at the end of that game. yesterday. Now, again, he stayed on the floor. They had opportunities to pull him. They didn't. I haven't seen an update out of Golden State yet to know exactly what was going on. But if there's any kind of lingering issues there, maybe this becomes one. And in a one-game situation, you never, like, Des Bane could get hot from behind the arc. Like, things happen, right, in a one-game playoff situation. But it does seem like the Warriors they're in a different tier in terms of their quality compared to the way Memphis is playing right now. So I would imagine Golden State is going to pick up the win here and move on as the 7th seed.
Yeah, my one worry is Stephen Curry's dealing with, feels like, 25 different injuries. Yeah. Jimmy Butler was limping at the end of the game. Draymond Green took that hard fall early in the game, and he was he finished, and he was holding his neck and his back a lot. He's also, like, anytime he goes to the bench, and at the point in his career where it's like they might as well put him in the ice bath because they strap so much ice to his knees and stuff. That's the one thing I do worry about. The Grizzlies hammered the Mavericks yesterday. It was never a contest. So they're coming in relatively rested.
And they benched most of their players for yesterday too. And still, I mean, Jay Huff went off for the Grizz.
Yeah, Yuki Kawamura did some stuff there with that. So, but yeah, I think chance to be a pretty good game. If Steph can be Steph, I just don't know who the Grizzlies are going to guard him with. Like, in their prior matchups this year is Jalen Wells, and he's clearly out for the rest of the year with the broken wrist. So yeah, I'm leaning Warriors. I'm a little nervous about the injury status for a couple of their guys. And then I'll say this now: if it is Warriors, I think by the time we'll see when we get to doing our predictions where we'll go, and we won't do it until we get there. But if it's Warriors Rockets, I think you're going to see a lot of the talking heads and pundits and everything. I think you're going to see a heavy amount of people picking the Warriors to win. I've even seen some people say they think the Warriors will be the favorites in a series against the Rockets, which is 2-7. That's pretty big to get.
That's a bold. I mean, that shows the parity in the West, but I mean, and it also we tend to do this, and I don't know if this is just human nature or what. Like we tend to think whatever has happened before, and this is like betting psychology and everything too. Like we tend to think if it's happened before, it can happen again. And we haven't really seen the Rockets like make a deep playoff run, but we have seen the Warriors. We've seen Steph Curry have playoffs. So there's just that kind of natural inclination of, oh, this is what the Warriors done in the past, so this is what they're going to do in the future as well.
It's the same reason the Thunder are 68-14 and just set the all-time scoring differential record. Now, if they fall apart and lose early in the playoffs, no one's going to remember this Thunder team as an all-time great team. But if they do at least get to the NBA Finals, and obviously if they win, we're going to have conversations about them as one of the best teams we've ever seen. Because they killed teams for most of the year. It was until the Lakers blew them out. Was that a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. They hadn't lost a game by more than 15 points until that game. They've had games this past week where they didn't play anybody and they're still out there killing teams because, their backups just step in and do their thing. That's the thing. That's why too, like I saw some people say, well, aren't the Warriors better off having lost this game than have to, play the Lakers or the Nuggets pending how the other games would have gone. And it's like, I've done extensive conversations with coaches, front office people, and players. None of them want to be in the play-in tournament if they can avoid it just to try to get a more favorable first-round matchup. Because anytime you get to play one more game, what happens if the Warriors lose and Steph picks up another injury and can't play the next game? Now, all of a sudden, you're in danger of your season's over. Yeah. Like, that's your challenge. No one's going to tank their way into the play-in tournament. No one's going to be like, well, yeah, it actually worked out better for us. And that's even if they go on to win and then beat the Rockets, it's still not going to be a thing. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see this Warriors Grizzlies game, and much like in the East, I think whoever loses. No, I don't want to step on the next two games we're going to talk about too much, but I'm going to pick whoever loses the 7-8 game to win that game too, barring some major injury or something. Yeah, agreed. And this game is also tomorrow night. That one will be coming up. That's going to be 10 Eastern time tomorrow night. All right, let's jump over to the Bulls and the Heat. Yay! Again. And this is like an annual tradition. I mean, Chicago
is going to be at home here, yet they're only a 1-point favorite. Usually you're given a 1.5 edge when you're at home.
Sure.
So I mean, maybe there's a little bit of something, but I mean that tells you right now, this is in terms of the odds that, which doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the odds that are out there right now, they're expecting this to be a very, very close game between these two teams. But as you said, Keith, we're not expecting, especially the 9-10 matchup on both sides, really not expecting these teams to like make deep runs or whoever wins, I think on both sides probably goes home in the second play-in game.
Yeah, I would pick the Magic or Hawks pretty comfortably to win. I mean, it's funny because there's part of me that's like, well, this is what the Heat do. Maybe they'll get it together and figure it out. But this year's Heat team has been such a mess.
Yeah.
Like they have not been that team this year. In this game specifically, I could fully see the Heat coming out, defending their tails off, really making it tough on the Bulls, and the Bulls can't score, and that's how Miami ends up winning. But we just haven't seen it. They just haven't done it enough. I think the Bulls will win. I think the Bulls too might be a little more excited to be here and play another game. And I know Bulls fans right now are like swerving their cars off the edge of mountains and in the Lake Michigan and everything else. But it's like, I just think this group feels like, let's make a run, right? Let's try to do this.
Right. And I mean, we've been talking about how they needed to truly tank and rebuild and all that kind of stuff. Maybe the basketball gods will reward them. They have a 1.2% chance at the number 1 pick right now, Keith. They've got a 5.7% chance at the top 4 overall. I mean, I guess you never know, but I lean Bulls in this one as well, but I don't know, like, I'm not that excited. I think I'm more excited about every other matchup in the play-in than this one. It's not, and I don't mean to sound like negative about it or anything like that. I just like, I don't know. It's hard to get excited about this one, I suppose. Like Warriors, Grizzlies, I'm like, okay, like let's go.
Yeah.
Bulls, Heat. I don't think we're gonna see some great basketball. Now you never know. My Lakers have been on the receiving end of when the Bulls get hot. You just right? And so it could turn into a fun game. Just on paper, this one isn't the one that I'm super excited about.
Couple other things to keep in mind here. If the Heat lose this one or lose the next one, they keep their pick. It's lottery protected. Sounds good that they keep their pick, except then they owe a unprotected pick to do you remember off the top?
It's probably OKC, right? It's got to be.
I don't think, is it?
It usually is.
Probably is. I don't know.
I'll look it up.
I got it. I'm pulling it up right now. And I just did this today. I was doing a whole bunch of drafts. Yeah, it's OKC. Yeah. So I'm sorry. It's it's OKC. Then they owe a unprotected pick to Charlotte in 2027 because they won't be able to convey a pick. I'm sorry, in 2028. That's because they won't be able to convey a pick in 2027 because it'll roll over to next year. So then it rolls over to Charlotte. So OKC and Charlotte are probably both rooting for the Heat to lose and keep their pick this year because then they each get an unprotected pick coming up in the future years. Now Miami's kind of like the Lakers, right? We talk about when they're down, they're generally not down for very long. It's usually about a 1 or 2 year cycle, and then they're back up. So who knows by the time we get out a few more years for Charlotte, but that's where it's at. One other thing, because fans have been asking me about this a lot, is like if the Heat beat the Bulls, they move on in the play-in tournament. But if then they lose, the Heat would still slot in the draft order ahead of Chicago. Right. So if you're out in the play-in tournament, you slot in wherever you would have slotted in record-wise. So
it's if you make it to the playoffs.
That's where it's different. That's where then you slot in at the 15th or 16th pick with that one. So so just little bit to play for there with that stuff a little bit. So, but I mean, I'm gonna pick the Bulls kind of semi-reluctantly, and then I think whoever they play, Magic or Hawks, they get bounced relatively easily in the next one.
All right, let's jump over to the last play-in game. That is Kings Mavs. And by the way, the Bulls Heat is a Wednesday game, and same thing with the Kings and the Mavs.
Same timing too. I think it's 7:30 and 10. Those ones are both on ESPN, and then the other ones are on TNT.
And remember, for Bulls Heat and Kings Mavs, I mean, I'm expecting all these playing games to be played with great urgency, but it's a loser goes home situation for these teams.
Yep.
So just something to keep in mind. Kings Mavs, right now the Kings are a 5-point favorite. They do have home court in this one, and Keith, this is like there's been a Sabonis versus Davis thing for a while versus Anthony Davis. Like, this is not the biggest, brightest stage, but maybe this is a chance for Anthony Davis to get over the hump against somebody. He's struggled against him. Who knows? Maybe Sabonis has his way with Anthony Davis again in this game. But this is an opportunity for AD to say, "Hey, Mavs fans, I know it's been rough. I know everybody's upset after the Luka trade and all that, but like, I've got something here. I've got another level I can get to." And we'll see if that's the way this can actually play out. Again, I'm thinking whichever team wins is losing to the Grizz or the Warriors next round, but I'm not counting out the Mavs in this one. I wouldn't have it as a 5-point favorite for Sacramento.
Yeah, that feels a little heavy. I will say this. There does seem to be some question of like, how much do the Mavs even want to keep going? I do think there is a sense of, hey, let's try to prove like, we're here, like, right?
Sure.
Luke is gone, but we're here. But that Kings crowd, like, they're going to be fired up to, try to support their team to get a win here, and then maybe an upset win and another playoff appearance. They're going to show up. They're going to be loud. I'm going to pick the Kings, but much like Bulls Heat, I don't know. I'm not going to be surprised if it goes either way. With this one, in the end, I don't think it really matters all that much. I think either the Warriors or Grizzlies be either team that advances. But we'll see. I mean, the Kings, this one's probably going to involve a lot of points, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Probably going to be pretty high scoring
both
ways with this. So that'll be fun, at least. I think this one's going to be a lot more fun to watch than Bulls Heat, which we're just going to kind of be watching because it's like, well, it's on and we do love the NBA, so let's watch it. But, yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit rougher.
This one, the Kings have more ways I think they can hurt you, particularly Zach LaVine. If he gets going, the Mavs are going to have some problems. I'm just not going to count the Mavs out, but I think end of the day, I probably do pick the Kings to get by again. I just think they've got more weapons and obviously healthier than the Mavs are. The Mavs, you just see it. They scream they're missing Kyrie Irving. When you see him out there on the floor, you can see it with the way they're playing. So
yeah. Now they do have Brandon Williams. They did get him converted last week. He did get hurt yesterday, so that's not great. So we'll see where that goes. Spencer Dinwiddie's the other guard there. Dante Exum is back. He played on Sunday, so maybe we can get a little something going in that backcourt. I don't know that they're going to be able to score enough points to keep up with Sacramento. If I'm Sacramento, let's just run up and down the court and score a whole bunch of points and turn this into a shootout and dare Dallas to match us. And last thing, Jonas Valanciunas back in the play-in tournament. Once again, he's been there every single play-in tournament that's existed since the first one in the bubble. He's played in all of them. So it's the JV Invitational in more ways than one, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. His name is Jonas, and he's been in that play-in tournament year in, year out. I guess that gives them the Kings the experience edge over the Mavs with the play-in.
It's true. Yeah, he's out there telling them what to expect.
Yeah, he's like, hey, look, I've been here before. Okay, I know what this is.
You guys haven't played in single elimination since the NCAA tournament, but let me tell you, a thing or two about this play-in tournament.
Gather round, children. Gather round.
Yeah, and this is maybe that's the reason why Lakers fans should stop pining for Jonas Valanciunas, because it just means you're going to the play-in tournament. You probably don't want that.
They've stopped. As soon as Luka came into town, they were like, "Oh no, that won't work."
Not the big we need with Luka. No,
that won't work.
Yeah, did you enjoy Markieff Morris's 34 minutes or whatever it was yesterday?
So I was doing the live play-by-play for that, and we were
I checked in. You were not doing the live play-by-play. You were watching the standings and the scores of all the other games.
We jumped around. I told everybody ahead of time, I'm like, we know this is going to be ugly. Yeah. I'm going to jump around a lot. And so by halftime of the Lakers game, the collective group decided that everybody in the chat was like, do not go back to the Lakers game. Let's just stay on Clippers Warriors. And so that's what we did. And we won. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, what a great game that was.
Yeah.
So fun. I said it was like getting a bonus play-in game.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it felt like. And they played it like that. I mean, and that's why, again, I think for those two teams, so driven by older veterans, the week off, I think, was as much of the push as like having to play in the play-in tournament itself. I think it was more, hey, let's get a week off and get off our feet. A couple of people asked, like, what does this week look like? Most teams, what they'll do is they'll probably take today off. A lot of teams take Monday off. They kind of let the guys do their thing. And then they come back almost like a mini training camp. They're not going to go quite as hard because with guys are dealing with stuff, but that's kind of what happens. And you start putting in all your stuff. Now, yes, the Cavs, Celtics, Thunder, and Rockets are at a slight disadvantage because they don't know who they're going to play. But you just start your installs on other stuff. You'd rather have the chance, especially all those teams are dealing with guys got some kind of bumps and bruises. You'd rather just have the chances to heal up, get as healthy as you can, and rest up. And then, if it takes a couple extra days to game plan, it does. But if you're the number 1 or 2 seed, you should feel good about your chances anyway. So it'll be fun. And like you said earlier, anybody who's like, hey, what about Lakers Wolves and Nuggets Clippers? And
we'll get to those.
Bucks, we'll get to those probably tomorrow. We'll get into those. We want to do the play-in because those are they come up first. And but we'll be breaking them all down. We will do our little prediction, fun between the two of us. You got me last year. I think I got you on games in series, and you got me on who won the series.
Who won series? Frankly, that's right.
The more important thing anyway. But and then I got it because I picked the Celtics to win it, and we all know you did not. So,
I was trying to protect my mental health. Yes.
So yeah, but we'll do that as well. We'll pick who we think's going to win and all that, and how we do it. Just if you do the show, we'll pick the first round. Then we'll pick our conference finals and the NBA finals ahead of time. But then the rest of the series we do as we know them. We'll lock those in because that's a little bit more fun.
Because things change.
Do it that way. Yeah, things will change, and we thought this team was going to win. They didn't, and then we'll talk about it. But dude, I am so fired up. Like I just plugged because all the game ones. Well, the game ones on Saturday are out. The game ones that we know are going to be Sunday. The times are now. But I was putting them all on my calendar, and I'm like, man, 2 full days of high level quality, postseason basketball. Like I am beyond fired up. I can't wait. I am so excited for that Clippers Nuggets series.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
It's just, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's great. And then we're not just going to sit here and talk about playoffs. We'll talk about that plenty. But man, we already got coaches and GMs getting fired. We'll start having transactional news and rumors and all kinds of stuff coming up. So this is a very busy time on a lot of fronts for front office shows. So hang in there with us, and we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Let's go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications as well. Till tomorrow. See ya and stay safe.